Okay, Russell. I did see Russell. Yep. So you're going to go through the financial report. That'd be great. And just noting that 2 resolutions there. And I don't know if you want to just talk about that as well.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Council. So this is the financial report for October. As the report outlines, we've got an operational surplus of $54 million, being $18.9 million ahead of budget. And we're expecting that forecast to be just under 12 million at year end, 11.8 million. So that's slightly up on where we were last month, and the report highlights the areas there that were driving that. Just looking closer at some of the forecast methodology that we use, but certainly personnel costs, planning consents, and lower organics processing fees. So the things that are driving the surplus at the minute, building and consent volumes, they're up and continuing to be up for the rest of the year. Just noting that there's a bit of an offset for that because the cost of doing that, we've had some consultants as well as extra staff time in doing that. Rates over strikes, it's an odd word. When we set the rates, it's called a rate strike. So we've effectively, that's saying that the growth was higher. I've mentioned that in previous reports. We've also got the Transwaste dividend that'll be coming in towards the end of the year. And Hagley Park, so offsetting that, Hagley Park parking fees, they're not operational yet. They're about to be, I understand, so they're behind budget. In the expenditure side, we've had significant variances in the insurance costs, which I've mentioned before. That's well down on where we thought the budget was going to be. Personnel costs, under budget year to date, and will be expecting to be about $2 million under at year end. There's no increases have been applied at this point. A couple of matters that are raised in the previous reports are waste management. Waste management. We're expecting some. It's about almost $3 million at year end. These have been offset by transport, increased costs of fly tipping, legal fly tipping. Three Waters, I mentioned before, that's mainly driven by city care, reactive maintenance, and in the wastewater space, extra costs sitting in the waste treatment plant. And then we mentioned that the building consent extra costs coming in at year end, which also is offsetting the extra revenue coming through. In the capital space, so we've forecasting to be about $707 million at year end. So that's about $30 million under budget for end of year. So there's two parts of that. One is in the core program. So that's about almost $38 million underspent by year end. And One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha will be overspent. So it's probably a misnomer really, by $7 million. It's not necessarily overspent, it's ahead of budget, but the project is on track, so that's quite positive. Item 6, or section 6, talks about the Treasury and the report there. Everything is in compliance. We're expecting an update from the OCR later on today. And as the Chair has mentioned, there's an extra section recommendation within the report, just looking to move, because there's minimal movement in the Treasury space, really we'll take it out in the monthly report and keep it in the quarterly report where you can see the changes. Anything out of that cycle that needs to be brought back to council, we would do that as part of this report. Yeah. That's pretty much it, Mr. Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Russell. That's really thorough, and it does make sense around the Treasury stuff. And the wording is good in that if there are issues, they'll be brought to our attention, but then we still get that quarterly reporting. So I think that's really good. Tyler and then Yanni.
Hey, Russell. Apologies, I couldn't track down the costs for fly tipping. What's the number on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it's, I'm not sure of your page, but section 4.6, there's a bit of a table there.
Okay.
And second last line there is it's about $1.3 million.
Right at the bottom of page 68. It's got that increased cost for illegal fly tipping transport.
Sweet.
Yep.
And on that, now that we've obviously had years and years of this, are we seeing trends through different quarters in terms of the prevalence of fly tipping?
Right, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not.
Sorry, I got the heads out.
No, that's okay. I'm not aware of the detail.
It's probably more of might be a technical question for the team that if you can come back with something, because it'd be good to understand it.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be obviously extra costs, particularly in my ward, around this time of year, and we're seeing quite a lot already. And Bron Street and the Southern Motorway are two other ones that I've noticed.
So they can take. Well, if we stick this one to the finance,
great.
But you can take it away.
Thanks.
Perfect. Yanni,
Yeah, and I mean, my understanding from talking to Alec is staff are actually actively working on some.
I don't want to have a discussion about fly tipping.
Yeah, on fly tipping. Yeah, I just wanted to check in terms of the excess water, residential and commercial. Is it possible to get those separated out? And it just is that. I just wanted to be clear. The yield. I mean, we don't have a forecast for them either. So, yeah, I was just trying to understand a little bit more about that excess water.
Sure.
Again, what we're forecasting, what we're actually getting in, and probably a distinction between commercial and residential, if possible.
Yeah, for sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. We'll look at separating that out, but just the dash under forecasting isn't that there isn't a forecast. It's that we're expecting it to come right at year end. Okay.
Right. Okay. And then the Hagley Park Botanic Garden parking fees, that's for the Botanic Gardens as well as Hagley Park? And is that the annual revenue that we're expecting is 0.7, is it? So $700,000 a year.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Now that's saying we're behind the year-to-date budget by 0.7,
Right.
and we're expecting to be that at year end. So effectively, we had budgeted, I think, for the full year. We're not yet operational, but we're about to be, and so therefore the budget will be fine for the rest of the year. But we're not going to make up for that time that we haven't been collecting the funds.
Is it possible in this report to see what the total, like we've only got the yield to date and the forecast in terms of the variance, but is there a total quantum that we can see?
This is. I think we just be careful about the purpose of this report, and really it's to identify key changes from our budget or from our annual plan. So I get what you're saying, but rather than having the budget in there as well, I'm just thinking more for people that are reading it outside of here.
Sure.
It would be good. The team can come back to you with specific bits of information.
So, for example, though, if we were expecting to get, I don't know, just 0.8, $800,000 of Hagley parking fees, then you'd be quite concerned that there was such a high variance. But if it's we're going to get 7 million and we're only at 0.7,
Yep.
then obviously that's not as concerning. So that's why I was just trying to understand if there was a way of seeing, maybe as a percentage thing, about like how
Wanting it in context, is that
how
what you're saying?
different, how much worse this or better the situation is.
Well,
at a glance.
That is that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the number was either 1.8 or 2.1 million that was budgeted for the full year in terms of those fees that came in as part of the LTP. So perhaps next time what we can do in those, we can look at whether we can give it some context that helps to show the percentage variance, I guess is what you're asking, Councillor Johansson.
And we'll get regular reporting through FMP on how that revenue line is going, right? Like this report will be a regular thing to Hagley Park.
This report here.
Yeah.
That we get this every month.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Okay, cool. So I think we're good. Tim looks like he's happy to move it. Tyler looks like he's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you.
Great. We'll move to the capital performance report with Nikki.